Never fear, Cindersh is here. And today I have my Doctor Who Series 9 Episode 10 Face the Raven discussion video for you. So I want to talk about two particular aspects of this episode. The first one is the trap being laid for the Doctor. This episode is leading us into our series finale. It is the first of the three-parter. Briefly, just wanted to talk about the trap itself. So we've got Rixie here, and he's the tool to bring the Doctor to a shielder, or me. And someone has set up to trap the Doctor through her. So she springs this trap on the Doctor, and the trap results in him having to make a choice. Of course, he chooses to save this kid's mother, but to do so, he's got to put his own key into a lock in order to release her. And in doing so, he gets a teleport device placed on him. So a couple of things about that part. We've got to talk about the technology. First off, there's a lock for which the Doctor's TARDIS key fits, and he realizes it's designed specifically for his TARDIS key. Who on earth is going to have the technology and the knowledge to not just make a TARDIS lock, but one specifically designed to match one of the Doctor's TARDIS's keys? That's pretty impressive. And if you have not ever done so, go check out how complicated the TARDIS's lock is supposed to be. It's some multi-dimensional triggering device itself. The keyhole is bigger on the inside than just like the TARDIS in a sense. So to have a device locked with a keyhole just like that of the TARDIS, that itself is impressive. Very impressive. And not many enemies could do that. I doubt the Cybermen could do that. Maybe the Daleks have enough technology and advancement to manage that. Maybe. But it's Time Lord technology, and the only other race that really ought to be able to pull that off would be Time Lords. Which means either Missy is pulling strings, or the Time Lords on Gallifrey are pulling strings. And the Doctor is going to be teleported to face either Missy and the Daleks or the Time Lords on Gallifrey. Now, going to the beginning of the season and the first two episodes following that, I kind of thought we would be getting back to the Daleks and Missy at the end of the season, where Davros was trying to get a hold of the Doctor's confession dial, which of course the Shielder also takes that off the Doctor, because whoever has set all this up wants his confession dial as well. So this would seem to lead towards the idea that Missy and the Daleks are back to the same scheme Davros had at the beginning of the season, trying to get the Doctor to create a hybrid Time Lord Dalek, and apparently they're interested in what's on his confession dial as well. I'm still not sure what it is that the Time Lords would want with his confession dial, but obviously Missy was curious about what it had to say. Davros was curious what it had to say. Apparently, the Time Lords are interested in it as well, because I do believe now that it is the Time Lords who have set all this up. And he's not going directly to the Time Lords. Where he's being teleported to is not Gallifrey. It is some kind of isolated mansion with some type of creature lurking the building. And we'll see how all that plays out in the next episode. I don't have answers for that. But that's where the Doctor is going. And then we also have to say farewell to Clara this episode. Now, I do want to make a comparison here. The last time the Doctor was forcibly taken to Gallifrey, he was also forced to separate from his companion. He had to go alone. And here, he was going to be forced to separate from Clara. Clara didn't have to die for that separation to occur, but he was going to be forced to separate from Clara. And whatever events would transpire afterward, she could have been written out without killing her. So why do they kill her? What is the reason Clara actually has to die in this episode? I think there is a reason behind her death and not just them being separated. Ever since the beginning of Season 9, Clara has been very different in her travels with the Doctor than she was Season 7, or with the 11th Doctor, and even different from what she was in Season 8, when she first starts traveling with the 12th Doctor. Now, what's interesting about that is, she loses Danny Pink at the end of Season 8. She loses Danny Pink, and Season 8 was setting her up to make a decision. Which life do I really prefer to live? My life with the Doctor or my life with Danny Pink? And throughout the season, she'd been choosing the Doctor. But the episode where Danny dies at the end of the season, it sounded like she was ready to choose Danny over the Doctor. And that's what she was trying to build up in her conversation with him, is that she wants to start building a more intense life focused on him instead of her travels with the Doctor. But then Danny gets hit by a car. And her struggle to make that decision is pointless, meaningless. Everything now is boring. And she tries to force the Doctor to bring Danny back, which he doesn't really have the ability to do. And so after that point, she's running, kind of like the Doctor has been running the entire series, or most of the series anyway. It's been portrayed that he's running from something, from someone, whether it's himself or something he's done. The Doctor has been running his whole life. And now Clara, who's learned in a lot of ways to imitate the Doctor, has also picked up on this trait that she's going to embrace the Doctor's lifestyle as her means of running as well. Now, whether she's running to or from death, that's a little bit more complicated to figure out, but she is running one way or the other, either towards her death or away from death. But in the end, death was going to claim her. Just as over and over again, death has claimed life after life of the Doctor because of the way he lives his life. Eventually, Clara's imitations of the Doctor and her increasingly reckless behavior throughout this season was going to catch up with her. And so, at the same time, she's about to be separated from the Doctor the way she was from Danny, without any choice, without any say in the matter. Death catches up with her, and it becomes her time to die. She outsmarts everybody else, but the way she outsmarts everybody else costs her her life, which is occasionally what happens to the Doctor. He's so smart, he figures out a way to defeat everybody else, but in doing so, it costs him his life, and it costs Clara her life. And unlike the Doctor, she cannot regenerate. She doesn't get another go. Whereas a Doctor, he can be like that because he's a bit more durable, as he puts it. He's more expendable because most of the time he's able to regenerate. Now, we know there are ways a Doctor could be killed and not regenerate, but most of the time that's not a big deal. Whatever happens to him allows him usually to regenerate. So that is why Clara has to die, because the lifestyle she's chosen needed to be shown to catch up to her. She was about to go back to her boring, uneventful life, and without the Doctor, without Danny Pink, I don't think she wanted to go back anyway. She would not really want to go back to that type of life. It's kind of like Rose. Once Rose got hooked on adventuring with the Doctor, her life on Earth, now people on Earth held meaning to her, but her life, living one day after another on Earth, held no appeal to her. I mean, she had nothing in that world to offer. Same with Donna. But she felt like there was nothing she had to offer the world, and that the only way she was going to make a difference in any way was by accepting the Doctor's offer to travel with him. In a similar way, the only meaning to life left for Clara was traveling with the Doctor. So it was in a way it was better for her to face death now, instead of going home to an empty life. I mean, it would have been a meaningful life, as she was still a teacher and still able to influence other people's lives, but that's not what's going to happen. That was not her future. Her destiny was this, basically. And kind of like the metaphor with the crow, being able to chase down his target throughout all of time and space. Clara could not escape death, and she, by her reckless behavior of late, was trying to escape death and cheat death, but you can't do it. You cannot do it, and neither could she. Well, that's all of my thoughts. Sorry if I've got a little bit longer than I intended to on some of that. Please feel free to comment. Let me know what you think about what's going to happen the next couple episodes as the Doctor is teleported someplace and then has to cope without his TARDIS to get away from this creature and get off this isolated island and building. And what are your thoughts about how they finished Clara's run on Doctor Who? This is Super Saiyan 7 Cinders. I hope you've enjoyed the video and the topics. And I hope you will subscribe to my channel if you have not done so. And you'll continue to watch my videos and show an interest in them. And we'll be back in the near future with another episode discussion.